Hello, let's look at some beginner level music theory for people who don't read music, or maybe they read a little bit but they really don't enjoy reading music. So let's look at a guitar-based beginner level theory. We're going to take the natural notes that there are in music, okay? Natural meaning they're not raised, they're not lowered, they're just natural notes. We're going to start on C, and we're going to play them on the 5th string. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That sequence of notes is the sequence for any major scale, no matter the key. On the guitar, if you move one fret, music theory people call that a half step. If you move up a whole step or down a whole step, that's called, if you move up 2 frets, that's called a whole step. So again, half a fret or half a step, I always do this. There's no such thing as half fret. Half step is one fret up, and a whole step is 2 frets. Okay. The pattern for any major scale, regardless of key, is whole step, half step, whole, and half. So in other words, if I start on C, go up a whole to D, the formula says go up another whole step to E. Formula calls for a half step now, I land on F. Another whole, bringing me to G. Another whole step to A. Another whole step to B. Then a half step to C. So along the way, you're going to realize that as much of these little guidelines and rules as you can memorize, the better off you'll be when trying to understand music and play music. So again, the pattern for any major scale is whole, half, whole, half. Sounds like this. Okay, that's the C major scale. By the way, it's also sometimes called the C Ionian mode. Let's not worry about that right now. C major scale. We're going to play those same C major scale notes, but we're going to start on the 4th string, and we're going to start on this note, which is an E. So we have E, F, G. You can see right away the pattern of steps is different because I'm not starting on the root. I'm not starting on C. Right here we have a half step followed by a whole step. In any event, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. E, F, G. 7th fret is A and B, C, D, up to the 14th fret is E. Likewise, we're going to take those C major notes and we're going to play some of them on the 3rd string. So the 3rd string is going to be open G. 2nd fret is A. We have B, C, D, E, F, and G. Again, 3rd fret, playing the notes of the C major scale, but starting on the 3rd fret, open G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so we talked about the fact that theory looks at this as being a half step, and that as being a whole step. If we take the steps and put them together, now we come upon a new thing called thirds. So if we start on C, and we take this whole step plus another whole step, okay, so we have 2 whole steps in a row. That's known in music as a major third. C to E. Another way to do it is on 2 separate strings, C to E. Okay, likewise, if we start on, let's say we start on the note D, and we take a whole step, but then we add to it a half step. So a whole step and half step. You combine those 2 together, you come up with a larger interval called a minor third. Another way to play it would be on the 2 strings, 2 adjacent strings. Okay, so for our purposes now, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be calling this a major third, and we're going to be calling this with an empty fret in between the 2 notes on the 2 strings, D and F. That's going to be a minor third. So whenever you see this shape, excuse me, you'll know it's major third, minor third, major third, etc., etc. So let's take a look on paper at what I'm talking about here. Okay. So right here we have our C major notes, and we have them on the 5th string. Again, when you start on the note C and play the notes in the C major scale, you wind up with that pattern: whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. C major notes on the 5th string, C major notes on the 4th string, C major notes on the 3rd string. Now, let's look at these notes and let's look at what happens when we play two of the adjacent strings together. So we had on the 5th string we had C, and on the 4th string we had E. That's a major 3rd. Similarly, we had these. We had D, 5th string, and we had F on the 4th string. D minor 3rd, that's a minor 3rd. We had E and we had G, that's a minor 3rd. Here we had F and A, that's a major 3rd. G and B is a major 3rd. A and C is a minor 3rd. B and D is a minor 3rd. And then we're back up, C and E an octave higher. One problem I have is when I talk a lot, I tend to cough, so bear with me. So we see that there's patterns of major 3rds and minor 3rds. That's the bedrock for our chords that we're going to create in the key of C major. So, again, major 3rd, minor 3rd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, major 3rd, minor 3rd, minor 3rd, arriving back at that same major 3rd, C and E, that we started with down here. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you can see, it's kind of small, but right here, C and E, it's a major 3rd. Likewise, D and the F is a minor 3rd. E and the G, minor 3rd. Okay, so these are 3rds plotted on the 5th and 4th strings. How about if we add another note? So far we had this. How about if we use those notes that we plotted earlier on the 3rd string? Let's take the C on the 5th string, the E, and the open G on the 3rd string. Well, as most of you probably know, that's a C major. Let's take this minor 3rd, the D and F, and add the A. These are all notes from the C major scale. These are all notes, quote, in the key of C major. D minor, take these, and you have E minor, then you have F minor, then you have G major, then you have A minor. Now here's a weird one. We have a minor 3rd, and then there's another minor 3rd. If we want to keep ourselves strictly limited to the key, the notes in the key of C, this is what you get. When you start on B, you get 2 minor 3rds, which is unique. Out of all the notes we're working with, that's unique. Okay? And then when we come up one more, we're back to the C, E, G that we started with down here. Okay, so let me show you how that looks. It's kind of self-evident, but you have the C, the E and the G, that's C major, the D, the F and the A, D minor, the E, where is it? The E, the G, and the B gives you E minor, F, A, C, G, B, D. Okay, so let's talk about that now. When you combine a major 3rd, first thing we started with here, C and E, with what's essentially a minor 3rd, from this E on the 4th string up to the open G on the 3rd string is a minor 3rd. So what we have is we have a major 3rd on the bottom and we have a minor 3rd on top. That's a C major chord. When you do the reverse, when you start with a minor 3rd with a major 3rd on top, that's a minor chord. Likewise this, it's a minor 3rd here. I'm trying to show you the fingers and I'm messing up the note. Minor 3rd with a major 3rd. So what we come to realize is the chords, when you figure them out this way in the key of C, are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, B what? B diminished. So that's the one that's weird that has the 2 minor 3rds, B diminished, and then we're back up to C major. Okay, so again, just to show you on paper, the formula for a major chord, down here, the formula for a major chord is you have, where did it go? I lost it. Yeah, down here. Major chord is a major third with a minor third on top. And the formula for a minor chord is just the reverse. It's a minor third as the foundation with a major third on top. Okay, now, again, chords in the key of C major. What you wind up with is you wind up with this for the key of C major. The first chord has the notes C, E, and G. It's the first degree, and it's called C, C major chord. The second chord has these notes. What are they? D, F, and A, and it's called D minor. Third chord has E, G, and B as the notes, and that number 3 chord is E minor, etc., etc. You then realize that no matter what key, there are 12 major keys in music, excuse me, no matter what key you're looking at, no matter what note you start on as your foundation, your root, it's always going to follow this pattern. The 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 is minor, the 4 is major, the 5 is major, the 6 is minor, and the 7 is diminished. We're dealing with 3-note chords, which are called triads. And this is always going to be the case for any of the 12 major keys. Okay, so we based everything on C to start out because it's the only major key where you don't have to raise any of the notes and you don't have to lower any of the notes. As you probably know, raising a note is called sharping and lowering a note is called flat. But what if we didn't want to start on C? Not every song is in the key of C. You know, there's actually 12 different major keys. So let's just say for the sake of argument, we wanted to base everything that we just did, the intervals, the scales, the chords, everything on the note G instead of C. Let's look at that quickly. That would be G major. I'm on the 6th and 5th strings now because I need to go down to that G. A minor, B minor, C major, D major, etc., etc. What we get to surmise out of that is that even if we start on G, all of the same things apply. If you start on G, the first chord is going to be major. It's going to be actually G major. In the key of G, the 2 chord is going to be A minor, the 3 is B minor, the 4 is C major, and then D major, and then E minor, and then it's going to be F sharp, diminished. So you say, well, wait a minute. When we did the chords for the key of C, there was no sharps, there was no flats. Well, as I said in the beginning, that was all natural notes. That's why it's a good key to start with. In order to get the whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half sequence perfect, starting on the note G, here's what you have to do. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 and half. That gives us the major scale sound. But in order to do that, we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Because if we play the regular F, that's not the major scale. That's something else. So we need to have F sharp instead of the F in order to build our G major key, G major scale, G major chords. So that's why the key of G major is known as 1 sharp. That sharp is F sharp. Now you may have seen something called the circle of fifths. This is just a semicircle of fifths. I didn't have time. I just wanted to give you a rough idea of how it starts out. The key in the center is the key of C major. There's no sharps, there's no flats here on the inside of the circle. But if you go to the right and you deal with the key of G major, which we just started talking about a few moments ago, it has 1 sharp. If we were to go beyond that and start figuring everything out based on a D note as the root, we would have to have 2 sharps. We would have to sharp all the Fs and all the Cs. Likewise, if we move from the C, which has no sharps and no flats, and start everything on F, well, we would actually have to flat one of the notes. We'd have to flat all the Bs. And if we got more adventurous and we wanted to start everything on the note B flat, well, then we'd have to sharp all of the B flats and all of the E flats. So that technique of determining what do I have to sharp and what do I have to flat in order to always keep this sound, that's when we get into what they call key signatures. So this is a entry-level beginner session. if you can remember that the key of C has no sharps and no flats, the key of G has one sharp, and it's called F sharp, and the key of F has one flat, and it's called B flat. Okay? So that's why we have key signatures in songs. So you get a song and you look, and in the beginning of the song it has a flat symbol on the B line, on that. If you're playing guitar, it would be on the center line. So what does that mean? You know, B flat. That means when you're playing the melody of the song, reading the notes, you're automatically going to remember to flat all of the B's that might come up. Likewise, if you look at a piece of music and in the very beginning they have the key signature and there's a sharp on the top line, the F line, that means as you play and you read the melody and you read your notes, you're going to have to remember every time you come to an F, just sharp it. So what that does for the composer and for the music writer is that they can avoid making a sharp every time they have an F in, let's say, like a 5-page song or a 5-page arrangement. So that's what key signatures are all about. Now, if we go back to this idea of 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, right? We looked first at the key of C. The 1 chord is C, the 4 chord is F, 5 chord is G. Well, that's really the basis for a lot of blues, and it's also early rock and roll. If we take the 1 chord C, F, G, that's known as a 1-4-5. 1-4-5. Okay? Likewise, mid to late 1950s, if you had a 1-6-2-5. 1-6-2-5. 1-6-2-5 in the key of C would actually be C major going to A minor, the 6, 1-6-2-5. The 2 is D minor, and the 5 is G, right? So 1-6-2-5 in the key of C would dictate that we would do C major, A minor, D minor, okay? So C major is the 1, A minor is the 6, D minor, and G is the 5. If you think of a song that might be in the key of E, and it might do something like this. The 1 chord is E major. Before I drive myself crazy and drive you crazy, let me just check my tuning here. You can get into a kind of a shorthand where you think of a song as it's a 1-2-3, it's a 1-4-5, it's a 1-6-2-5, it's a 1-6-4-5. And that's one of the very useful things about music theory is you can apply information to every key as long as you know the number system. Whoa, my B string went AWOL there for a minute. Okay, close enough for rock and roll. Let's resume. So if we had a chord, let's say a song in the key of E, right? And if it played the 1 chord, E major, then it went straight to the 2 chord, which would be F sharp minor. And then it went to the 3 chord, which would be G sharp minor. And if we had some fancy notes on the outside of each chord, it would be this. This is a form of F sharp minor, a form of G sharp minor. That would be a 1-2-3. So what we can look at in the future is what would happen if we added a 4th node to every chord. So when we started out, we had C on the 5th string, we had E, we had open G on the 3rd string. What about if we just went to that 2nd string and played the open B? Well, what happens is you get these chords that are a little prettier. And this, instead of being a C major, when you add in that open B, it's a C major 7. And likewise, if I take our D minor triad from when we began the lesson, and if I add the C on the 2nd string, I've got a D minor 7. This would be an E minor 7, F major 7. But that's probably a topic for another day. Let me know if you have any questions. I tried to be just very succinct and very direct. But let me know if you have any confusion, and we're going to do more on this. And I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.